Hi, so welcome to the first external tech talk of the year. My name is Alice from the University Recruitment Team. I'm a senior analyst, and today I will be your host. So we have today Andre Trettin and Michael Santoso, a lead and senior software engineer at Agoda, and they will be covering AI. And let's give it round of applause to them.
Hello.
Thank you. Don't worry. Go ahead.
Hello everyone. Welcome to Agoda Tech Talk 2023. I hope that all of you have enjoyed your lunch provided by Agoda. Thank you everyone for who's coming here actually. Little quick introductions. My name is Michael, and stand next to me is one of the wonderful lead iOS engineer in Agoda.
Oh, thank you very much.
I'm quite nervous to stand next to him because it's my first time to stand with my lead. And in here, I'm trying to speak with him along together. And what we are speaking right now?
Yeah, it's a good question. You invited me. I have no clue. What's up?
Oh yeah, unfortunately, we don't have any slides now at this moment.
What kind of slide? What are you talking?
For those who are joining online, don't worry, we have prepared something for you guys to see because we are doing a real tech activities in this real tech talk, basically. But before that, let's go into some problem statement before, right? We need to see what are the problems that we want to solve, right, Andre?
Okay, go ahead. Okay. What kind of problem you have?
So any of you guys here is indie developer, startup founder, or someone who have a pet project like Andre? Because he has tons of pet projects, quite wonderful in the App Store. I'm not sure how many people download your apps, but you have a lot of...
Zero? I don't have any apps. What are you talking?
But I believe that everyone in here, like coming here, maybe it's not iOS engineer, maybe someone from product, from the designer, and you have kind of pet project that you want to and build. And you have an ideas, but you don't have time. You don't know how to grow your apps, and you stop at some point because you cannot just multitasking your apps. And this talk is for you guys because we have heard a lot of things about AI, Copilot, ChatGPT, now even AutoGPT, maybe even Stable Diffusion, and some other plugin tools that we found, AI plugin tools. And I think it's suitable if we create something, right? Andre, what do you think? What we should do?
Yeah.
We don't have slide. We don't have PowerPoint.
Okay, where's this points? But if I'm using this, I think it's called weak points or something. If I'm using it, I'm not very good. It's tend to be creepy, and the big company tells it's a feature, but I think it's a bug if does anything. So I guess what we do today is we are creating something that is our slide, also maybe an app or an MVP or something. What do you think?
Right. I think we can do that in here. So I think we can start by trying to incorporate ChatGPT to building our first MVP, and then try to prove that we can do that quickly for our ideas, right? So I think before we start here, I think let's everyone close your eyes for 2-3 seconds and pretend that you are a noob engineer. You don't know anything, so you don't have any extensive knowledge about iOS or anything, or just a normal person or someone who want to build an app, but you just only have ideas, right? I think you can open your eyes, and I will try to share my screen because we have actually prepared something. Let's share. I have prepared something here. So I'm opening chat.openai.com, something that we know already, everyone know already when we just try it out. But since I'm not an engineer, I already transformed myself if someone doesn't know anything about code. So I just asked them, okay, presentation app with SwiftUI, make our platform. Can you suggest some structure for the apps? Okay, here's the structure presentation app. So surprisingly, they can give us some suggestion here, models. So the models, the views, slide view, presentation view along with explanations, and view model. What is it? It's a business logic. Okay, at least I know this is for business logic part, and then data storage for storing the data and presentation. Okay, and even they can suggest some structure of the project that we can put in the IDE basically.
Like our company work. So it looks like everything is inside, many files. Okay, good. Let's start.
Okay, but I think this is not what we want, right? We want some code because I don't know how to, right? Oh, okay, let's.
Okay, let's
Let's
try it
do
out.
this.
Let's try
Yeah,
it out.
let's try to ask, create the app for us, give us the code now. Okay, so unfortunately, they only can give basic outline of what we can. Basically, they give some suggestions about slide. This is the model, and then the presentations model, and then about the views, slide view, and then presentation view, and so on. Then, and I think now let's try to copy all of this one into our IDE. So for you guys, Xcode is actually one of the official IDE for building iOS app applications. Let me zoom a bit. Accessibility reasons. Okay, so I think now everyone can see very clear what is it. What is it? Now we have already copied all of the answer from um, our wonderful AI, and then let's try to run these applications. What happenings? Oh, you can create this kind of applications for slide. You can even go to these navigations, new presentations, templates. What is it? What is at slide? Oh, setting some slides. For
Looks
formatting. Yeah, what
good,
do you think about
but it's a little bit overcomplicated, and it reminds me at these big apps that I'm having problems to use. Maybe we should simplify, and especially in MVP, you want to simplifying it, and you don't want to overcomplicating things from the beginning. And it looks also boring because I think if we do all the data storing and adding slides and so on, then probably we don't have slides at all. Also we are, yeah. Let's, I prepared something. I looked at your code and I checked it out. I deactivated for a moment this OpenJetPT source code, and we're starting fresh. And now it's getting a little bit tricky. I guess the microphone is not working this time. I try it once more and I hope that we get something. Okay. Yeah, we start with the first view or with something, and I will explain how it works. Nice, we're getting improvement. Thank you. Oh. So this is real prototyping here, and also everything we try to improvise. So I create this slide view, and I will explain a little bit what's going on. So the interesting part is here that as soon as you basically using that one, you have on the right side a kind of preview. Who are not familiar with this kind of technique, on the right side I see what is the outcome. In the middle part I can basically enter some code, whatever this is, and it basically will be rendered on the right side. You're just wondering, oh, okay. Here you see basically a text with hello world inside. So for a slide view, I would like to have here a title, right? Let's change this one very quickly to one statement. So why should I use SwiftUI? Oh, okay, cool. You see in the middle that something pops up and closed down and some other thing. This is Copilot, and we will talk more about this one very soon. But you see the following thing, that the text is on the right side changing, but it's very small. Let's change this one for now. And I put something on it called font, and I call the font is large title. You suddenly see that also I get a suggestion from Copilot I could take this over at the moment, but I was faster with typing and more concentrated on typing than recognizing it. So I will dismiss this one. And on the right side, we see that the title is large, right? The font is large. So what does it mean? If we are speaking in the sense, this called font modifier, and it's modifying this view. And the view you see is basically text. So in general, the SwiftUI is declarative. That makes it easy for prototyping because you can basically describe what you want. So this is the first part. So now I'm not happy with the thing. I will need more, I think, a bold font. Let's try this out. And not font. I can put bold. So now it's getting a little bit bold than before. Now you're just wondering, I put 2 of these here to modify it. If I change the order, nothing seriously happened. It's the same result. But if I tell you this, you might be wondering why. Make it a difference? Oh, sorry. Okay. Make it a difference or not? Yes. And I will explain you in the simple words, what is the difference? For example, if you are going to basically make soup, you can basically put the water first in the pot and then the noodles. And then you're boiling it up. And then you get probably something eatable. If you are basically putting first the noodles in and then the water, you most likely get even the same result, and it's also eatable. I hope that no Italian chef will listen to me now. Probably cursed me already. It's probably not the same. But if you do the following thing, you put first the noodles in the pot, and then you boil the noodles. If it's possible, then it's hard to detect when it stopped. And then you put the water in it. You most likely don't get anything what's eatable. And here's the same. I make a small example that you can check. So I added a background color here, and we see immediately the fact that the background of the text is red. If I now add a new view modifier with padding, then you will see in the first moment something happened. The view is bigger, but the background is not changing anymore. So if I now change the order, you will see that this will be reflected immediately, and now I have a different result. This is what I meant. Order matters, and this makes the declarative language easy to use. Okay, this is a small example. Let's go a good slide. With a title is nothing, right? We need more. We need maybe bullet points. Bullet points always cool. So let's try to add some bullet points. For bullet points, I will use something different. Okay, just a minute. So I added the title here by purpose. I will explain in a second why. So for now, I didn't change much, but now we're adding bullet points. And now I hope we can see. Let me second. I hope that the bullet point, you see that Copilot is suggesting me something, and now I get what I want. He's generating bullet points for me. It's sometimes tricky what you want to generate, but basically what the AI is doing is basically helping you or supporting you, assisting you, and making suggestions. When the suggestions come and how, that is basically how you're writing and what is the context where you're writing. And the funny thing is, I can't read it from here so well in this situation. Okay, this bullet points, I don't want, now I prepare something and we switch quicker. I will remove this one and switch back. So I make it a little bit more concise. We're adding a slide view model to be adding more slides for later. You will see what's the effect. And also, I adding normally sometimes the co-pilot is actually suggesting me these bullet points. At the moment, in this kind of context and in the live demo, he doesn't like me anymore and says, no, I won't give you any bullet points for today because I'm tired, maybe this reason. So that are some bullet points I want to use, and to make now the things to speed up a little bit and not too boring, I will switch to our save point. In the background, I added a few code, and this one is basically also a suggestion. If you want to create an MVP or something, and if you find some libraries or some code, sometimes it's difficult to basically setting up this one in the correct way. You have dependencies, you have a lot of things to do, and it's annoying work. So best practice sometimes is copy the files you need basically stupidly in the code and use them directly. And now we have our first slide ready. Michael, what do you think?
I think it's nice, but for a slide, we need more. We need more than one, right, Andre? I guess.
Just a minute. Yes, you're right. But what do you think about the content of the slide?
Okay, the content of the slide. I think, well, maybe we can explain the contents. Yeah, some interesting points that you can explain.
Yeah. Okay. So you see, easy to use. That's the reason why we choose for prototyping SwiftUI. That is our message, basically. The idea why it's declarative gives you a lot of benefit that you can fast and explain. I think also the declarative gives the benefit that not only you as programmer, maybe also designer are interested, and they can try things out, and even maybe non-programmer, and even with the help of AI and some other tools, it might be easier to do to use this one. The cross-platform is a little bit tricky here. It's not really a bad case. It's cross-platform for Apple platforms. Reactive, we skip for now. Fast, what do you think about fast?
I think for 10 minutes during our talk, we have built some kind of first slide for MVP. It's quite fast. And a bit point about cross-platform. It's not really it's cross-platform Apple Power, but you know that with the SwiftUI, with the same project, we can build to multiple targets. Right now, we can see macOS, but actually we can build under the same code for iOS and also iPhone and iPad as well, right, Andre? Basically.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And the last point I like, it's not from me, it's coming directly from OpenGPT. It's fun. I hope you can agree. Okay, let's switch. What do you need now?
I think we need more slides. I think we need more reasons why do ChatGPT is helping us for building MVP, right? I think, okay, now let's switch back to my screens. I will try to going over to okay, I hope everyone see. Okay, so I already go checkpoint to Andre save point basically. And now let's back to ChatGPT basically. Now if you are, oh sorry, having some delay. So if you want someone and you need some content, right? We can also ask ChatGPT. Maybe it's not developer, maybe someone the one who used this slide, and they want to give some content to the slide, and we can ask them, can you give me a slide? What are the benefits of ChatGPT? Then surprisingly, they can also give us some suggestions about the title and the content. And sometimes they also returning us suggestions about the image that we can use as well. What kind of visual image that we can use with a text representation. And I have a prepared in here. Maybe we can do also the same as Andre, doing some bit like coding. So as you can know from the last save point here, it was quite hard for me to do it. Okay, hello.
Okay.
Oh, it's fine. That's funny. Okay, so as you can see, I have prepared some snippet here and right here. As you can see, we can add more content here. We copy the content from what ChatGPT suggests to us. By the time then now it's trying to run the macOS applications from the IDE and what's happening here. Oh, why is only showing the last one? Why it does not show the first one? What's happening? There's no previous and next button. What should we do, Andre? I think we should add something, right?
We need something that we can switch to the next slide and maybe also back. You need to add something that is more usable.
Right. So I think first we can also ask the same things in case you are someone like non-engineer, but you don't have like less knowledge about iOS or SwiftUI. You can doing the following things. You have following slide view. We copy over all of these slide view things. And then we ask them, how do I make a previous and next button in SwiftUI so I can switch to either next or previous slide? So surprisingly, they can also suggest us before that one, before giving us some code snippet, they can give us some of the explanations. What are the uses of its things listed, like a state property to create track of current slide index. It makes sense to we always track the current index for switching the slides, and then previous and next buttons, and then use the current slide index to display the correct slide. We can take a look briefly. This is the rest of the code, and then they give us some suggestions. What are the few that we can inject? And this one on the first iterations, they give us presentation view, but I don't want to have presentation view. We can also tell them I don't want to have the presentation view. I just only want to have slide view because that's the structure that we have previously. And they can give us some suggestion as well. And then I already tweaked the code here. So I copy over that code before. Let's delete this one. I have already the working snippet here. And now, when we run this one, okay, we have some compile error. What happened here? So surprisingly, there are some errors. Why? Because they don't know the context of the code that we have before in the code base. The slide view model was a single object. So now we need to change it to an array, basically, because now we want to accept more than, we want to have a previous and next button, right? So I think for this one, we can see something. Okay, now we can see the previous and next button here. You can click next. Yep, we have something here, something to put into. So it's quite nice, and I think what the next thing that we want to do is like we might have a new content, right? We don't want only text. We want to maybe some image is good as well, right, Andre?
Yeah, an image. We need image.
Right, right,
Always.
right. Like I said in the beginning, we are not the iOS engineer. Pretend that we are someone. Well, maybe we are, but we are very new in iOS development, and we just watch some tutorial, YouTube or Stack Overflow, and we asked them. Now I want to have a slide that can support image. This one is a really rough text. We don't know about formatting, input format or whatever it is because we don't know about anything. As I said before, we pretend that we are someone who doesn't know about this one. And they still can give us some good suggestions. Content type, text and image, and changing the bullet points into array of slide content type. Then now I also preparing things here. Yeah, now all right, I have changed some of these things, but we have a problem in the view because it was accepting a single object, not an the content is only a text. Now we have an image, right? So we need to change something also in the slide view. Yeah, now trying to run this one back. Okay, now we have image now and text slide. So this is the proof within 15-20 minutes we have able to create a slide app with the image and the text inside, which is quite nice. But I think you did something right in the background, Andre.
Yes.
Already, right?
I changed a little bit. Other the buttons I don't like. We need the buttons should be hidden and something else. Maybe you can check out what I did in the meantime to it.
Yes. So I will check out the point the safe point that we have done before. And now this is the real talk that we want to present. Uh, Basically about, okay, as you can see, the previous and next button has gone, but we already add some comment. Next, Andre did some tweak, also with the help of AI. We can switch by pressing command and arrow, basically. It's quite handy, it's nice. Let me expand this one a bit. Okay, now we talk we don't use PowerPoint, we use RetroPoint here. It's a new slide app that we create for this purpose of this talk. So what are the benefits of using ChatGPT for MVP development? For the first slide is actually we're trying to refine the answer from the ChatGPT with our own experience. So we combine it once. We're talking about the faster prototyping, improve user engagement, and reduce development costs, especially for us, for indie developer or someone who doesn't have a big team, but you have an ideas and you want to get this one to the market, right? Going to the next slide is faster prototyping. Why? Because you're saving time and designing a very complex things. You just focus on what you can do at your point. You don't need focus on very in-depth detail coding complex things. And then if you can get a lot fast prototyping or first product quickly, you can get early user feedback for your app. So you can iterate it. You have a rapid iterations for your applications for your MVP product, right? And also if you have like a small group, maybe 1 or 2 people, everyone can help you to prototype things with ChatGPT. Even maybe your partner, your wife, yeah, as well. You can help.
That
you as
is
well.
interesting. You
Yeah,
said
so
I should train with my wife. With AI. Okay.
yeah, so everyone can help you to prototype some things in case you are really alone and you only have a close member in your day to day. And then, of course, we can accelerate the development timeline. You focus to something non-technical stuff, maybe marketing, maybe something about blog. Like you want to gain more exposure, you want to gain competitive advantage in the market, and this way you can verify your product, and then you even can convince someone to take funding your project, basically, something like this. And of course, since it is using advanced natural language processing, every single response has been correct, grammar, spelling, and everything. Now, another thing is like it's same things basically, improving user engagement, scalability, because they can have interactive responses between human and the ChatGPT, and then it feels the users like if you are having a product like a chatbot, probably you have like interactive response, like we talking with a human, not talking with a robot, basically, and then they ChatGPT can help us to tailor the response based on what user put preferences based on what they put, basically. It depends also us when we want to construct the input format. At the moment, when during the development, during the demo, we try to use the very raw input format. But in the future, if you have more knowledge, you can format it better, basically. And then, of course, since it record all of the historic conversations, it can handle a lot of large volumes. It can help you to analyze things, probably for help you debugging things. And also it provides 24/7 support. Maybe you don't have customer support for your small startup. You can use ChatGPT to automate this everywhere around the world, any language, basically. Until at some point you really, really need customer support team when you want to grow your MVP product. And of course, reduce development costs is some things help automate time-consuming tasks, tedious tasks, generating mock data, content outlines, and helping you reducing error and downtime, because you can ask them as your QA, and improving efficiency of your product and speed of your product. Yep. And the last one that I want to discuss is about make the best out of ChatGPT. Something here, I will just focus on several points. Especially, we need to understand the limit of ChatGPT itself, and also we still need human. You can see that both of us still need it to verify the content when there is a compile error, because they maybe don't know the context of what we are doing in the past. So we still need human for helping you this. That's why we have prompt engineer this day. Better input prompt, it means better outcome. Then, yeah, we can help. I can learn other things that more important rather than coding, maybe product things and other stuff with the help of ChatGPT. So I think we can go to the next topic, which is Copilot. So I will hand it over to Andre about the next AI that are also interesting to help you to building an MVP development program. Right, Andre.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Very overwhelming. Okay, I try my best. Okay, that was a lot, and okay, let me share first my screen and then we see how it goes. Okay. So in the meantime, I added a few things. So we will switch a little bit. Normally, I would like to show you real cases and how what works good. But at the moment, the setup is a little bit tricky. So I will switch a little bit. I will talk now how to configure a little bit with Copilot because it was surprising for me. All of this is basically a plugin for the IDE. And other IDEs, there are official plugin from GitHub that works much better than in Xcode. Xcode is a little bit special here. So one thing you need to do is in your settings to enable the assistant keyboard. You go in accessibility and you need to use this keyboard and activate the switch. If you do that, you get this small window here. If you click it, it's a keyboard, and if I'm typing here some keys, you see something flipped. The keyboard itself is for something else normally, but we need only to run this. Otherwise, the plugin cannot communicate properly with Xcode, and without key shortcuts, it's quite slow. And you want to increase your productivity. Basically, what we now enabled is the following thing. If you go in Xcode into the key bindings, here's the key bindings, and you can filter for Copilot. So I did this, and I configured this already. This key shortcuts you find on the web page, and they are basically the one that's not conflicting these others. So that's easy to read, but I added them, and they were not working in the first moment because I hadn't opened the keyboard, and that's quite annoying to find out. So that's the reason why I'm mentioning it here time. In the beginning, when I used Copilot, I was faster in typing myself, and then the suggestion came in, and it was difficult to get them. But now I can basically take over the suggestion immediately, like Kotlin developer or developer with other IDEs, and this is super helpful. You will see the much improvements. So I will try to do an example and explain a little bit more. One thing I found out, I added a little bit code here, some code. It doesn't matter what's here inside for the moment. Let's focus on the first one and the second one. Let's say some store, what the store, the meaning is, or what it does is not play a big role here. But what I want to tell you is if you have structured code and you're using the same structure in your code base, then Copilot or AI can pick it up and can mimic and understand what you want and can make suggestions. Let's say I have map is maybe my map module, a photo is some photo module. Now I have a new module and I'm creating it. Then I can type something like this in the code. I type only final. Let's see if it's working. At the moment, I don't see any response here. Give me a second. I will restart my Xcode. That happened from time to time. So after restart our project, let's see if we get some new results. Now it's working immediately. You get interesting things. Now he suggested me to create a retro store. That sounds pretty interesting. If I want to take this over, I can press one key now and I have it directly in my code editor. And the interesting part is he sometimes use absolutely the same, as the same structure, only replacing words. That can be very helpful for you if you have a repetitive code where you basically need only to replace a few names, but it's too difficult to do with find and replace or something. Very helpful. But it can do even more suggestions. For example, I have here a tab root view that is basically showing tab views, and in this syntax, you need always to put this tab item. And maybe you need to add more and more things to it. The interesting part here, he's also helping me now. If I'm typing here the VStack, he's suggesting me to put here a tab item. Sorry, I need to put this one a little bit down that we see the suggestion. He is suggesting me make a new tab, call it with retro, and even he's suggesting me to do the image for it. If I'm basically accepting this one, you see sometimes the code will be basically compilable, sometimes not. And this basically is now still our job to verify that the context is correct. This is what probably Michael meant earlier in his slides. We are still needed because we have the overview and the full context. And this is still difficult for AI and good for us, I think. I tried a few more things here. The button style, for example, is a typical form where you need to write this kind of style. I tried that he gave me already some cool styles, also to make code of it. Unfortunately, this is sometimes not working. I can give you here the view how it looks like. We should see now it's a normal button here. But what about if I want really a new button? Sometimes it's working. I will type something. Let's see what's coming out. I want to have a glowing button. So let's see what he's suggesting at the moment. And basically, this is real data. I cannot control what is he giving me as suggestion. Even if you, also sometimes the prompting what you type works quite well. And sometimes you need to basically try to work around to give him more hints. Here, he is doing it, but unfortunately, he's doing absolutely the same style. So the button will not be glowing. So for a glowing button, I had sometimes result that he's basically adding some cool animations. And I will add this code what I got in a previous tryout. He was basically giving me this code back here. Just not finding number, here. So this is generated code from earlier try when I type in glowing button. And this is quite interestingly, if I try this out, it was compilable from the beginning. I will change here the preview that we can see what's going on. So now you see first a strange animation, and this is basically the animation view modifier here. It was basically swinging around, and sometimes it's quite interesting what the assistant gives you back. And it also can you inspire you to basically have some ideas. If you are maybe have an idea, I want this, but I don't know exactly how to do, you can maybe try to type and get basically interesting suggestion back. What I found out what's really working well is test. For test, I added simple code for now at the moment. So I added already this structure code that we don't need to write this one. So if I now in the unit test part, immediately he's suggesting me to test the init of it. I'm accepting this one. And this is nearly correct. Also this time is not correct, absolutely. Here it must be sites. And here I say, let's give me the min value. Now I'm feeding basically what is basically a good test for a die. That's basically for dices, and this one is one die. So if I run this, it will pass. I prepared this, but let's see what more test he gives me back. And this one is interesting. He knows that die is something where I can roll and I get results back. So he's suggesting, hey, test the roll function. I will take this over. Perfect. And interestingly, this time he is basically saying, use the min and the max value, and it must be in the range. Sometimes he put real, also absolute numbers. And if this or the other is better. It depends on your style. I, I think I would prefer fixed numbers, because if I change the implementation of min and max, then it might be passing. But this is up to you. There's one thing, here's a compile error. And this is what Michael meant earlier in the slide. It can check your grammar and your spelling. And I did a very stupid spelling because my roll function called roll, and it's not rolling really a die, right? So now I know what I did wrong earlier. Okay, cool. We have two interesting examples. There are more examples. For example, if you go in the code here, this is our very large slide view, and we see here already my current slide where I'm working on it. This is basically the structured code, the unit test, and now I would like to document this. And I think most of us are lazy people, and they don't want to add code comments. And now finally we have a solution. We can basically ask Copilot for doing it. I'm selecting the text, and I will show you that I'm calling from Copilot something called add documentation to the selection. This is interesting. This is not using the Copilot from GitHub. It's using from the plugin, the OpenAI. And here you see as well that the tools are still, also growing and basically going into each other and merging. And basically, I don't know what the future will bring, but I think there will be many tools and many enhancements around this area. During we basically prepared this slides here, this project, the small one, I got, I think, 3 updates of the plugin with new interesting features. So it's a very exciting time. So let's add some code documentation. And a new window popped up. Is similar to what you see on the web page. Interestingly, he's basically putting the comments in. And the interesting part now, I don't need to basically copy paste by myself, sondern after he is done and I'm happy with the result or not, I can accept it. So let's accepting this one. Let's look what this guy did. So he gave me here some comments, here some comments. This time I don't get comments in the view. It's also interesting. Sometimes you get it, sometimes not. Maybe I will try to force this one again. Let's say I'm selecting only this small amount, and I will do it once more. Sorry. So here once more. I hope. No. The last test, it's not working when I will explain like this. It's thinking. Okay, it's coming up. This time no such action. Sometimes it's giving you interesting comments, and we found out it's basically breaking your view down in sections. And this one is fantastic for maybe refactoring, extracting views, and having a structure. Also it's understanding the structure of the view and saying, this part are your navigation buttons, for example. And when I think, oh, that is great, I can maybe extract them and put them in their own view, for example, and make my code more optimized. This is most likely what you do then in your productive coding, and then you finalizing your product and want to be more robust and stable code. There are more options. Also, I think Michael mentioned already that our time is going out. Check out what possibility, and I think we are not limited. Also, we are limited at the moment what the tools give you, but the tools are incredible fast of improving, and also you can basically try to play around and manipulate it in a way. So we are nearly at the end. I will go to some other point, and it's called the end. So unfortunately, I switched to the end, and I would like to run once more the app in background for you. So after a while, we have now something you see as also the beginning animation. I told you that I added basically a few things to play around. But now for you, our Easter egg, our interesting part, our surprise. I'm not sure, maybe some of you remember the 90s where, and we are coming back to it, we have a retro for you. And I'm basically starting our demo. Okay, sorry guys, this is the end. We are showing you Slido for question and hopefully we can answer. I hope you enjoy the small retro vision at the end. And Michael, do you have, oh, sorry.
As you can see in the last, so we are open for funding if you want to fund the project. Just joking, but we have a public repository. Feel free to visit that one if you guys want to take a look on that one. Yeah. One question is, do you have any concern about confidential data leak when we're throwing our production code to ChatGPT? What do you think about this one?
Yes, I think we should, but I'm not 100% sure by saying you can basically put a check mark. Please don't use my code. I don't know if I keep that promise. If you're following the social media or any other news, you hear sometimes that data leaked out because of this. And I think that will be our new cybercrime probably.
You need to carefully to review the TNC from the, if you want to use the ChatGPT API. Basically, I would say it's not guaranteed 100% they keep the promise, but as far as we know in the social media, they don't leak anything about it at the moment.
I think that you can do it wrongly, that you are basically pushing it by yourself to it. But yeah. I was working once in a company where had all their document and everything in the cloud, and when they had someone had the concern, hey, are you even put your code, your next visions and everything in, and they told me, no, we don't think that's the problem. If someone is looking at it and copy it, we are faster. We are already done.
I think that's why before we are trying to use the ChatGPT, I think first we need to think, right? Why do we want to show the confidential data into the ChatGPT? You can use any other data, like maybe some test data or some fake data, and maybe only just small kind of a snippet or something like this. You don't need to show anything to the prompt. You're really concerning about that one. That's my suggestions. Any other questions from the audience here or from if there are no one giving the questions in the Slido, then we are good. Don't have one. Okay, we have one. Oh, we have someone from your team, Andre. Yeah, so.
Thank you. And It's very interesting and I think it's very useful. So my question is, do you think you can take double story point with the help of Copilot and ChatGPT?
I think you gain velocity. Yes, 100%. Sometimes you're getting more velocity, sometimes not so much. I think the average is between, it depends on what kind of code base you work, how much you have, how is it. It can be between 10 to, I would not go to 50, that's too much. I think it's between 10 and 30% because the reality is harder than the sample code, what you've seen here. And I take it more like an nice suggestion. You can do this, and it's gives you basically the speed of typing. But I think the real thinking process, the to split the code, to think about if the interface is correct, you still need to do a lot of work, and that is basically what costs time, I guess.
Now we have another question. Thank you, Anonymous. Does Copilot have an impact on IDE performance? How about your experience with using Copilot with Xcode, at least for Xcode?
On the IDE itself, I don't think, but basically I set it very. Oh, I cannot share, but there's basically you say how fast the results should come. I reduced the number to 0.5 seconds because in the beginning I was typing very fast and I wanted results and results not coming. I think the limit is not the IDE performance, on the limit is how fast get the AI the result back to you, the response time from the server at the moment. So this is what I think is my performance problem.
Yep. Okay.
Hello. So I want to say from my own testing, I figured out that ChatGPT has like a memory of 4 to 5 moderately big files of code, and that can comprehend. Other than that, over than that limit, it just starts to hallucinate some stuff. It tells you to add stuff that are not there to remove them. So my theory is that the bigger the code grows, the less useful it's to be. Do you think, I guess the question is, how much would you estimate this impact of a bigger code in Agoda, for example? Every single file would relate to 20 others, especially like we're doing dependency injection. How do you think it will impact the import? Do you still think you can prove 20 to 30% of an when working with a giant, massive code base? Would it still have that impact? In smaller codes, I realize, yes, it can be of great value, but on bigger codes, it's
Yes, you're right. Also, the suggestion rate is you don't know exactly what is taken into account and what not. I sometimes try to put the code in front, and when I'm writing something that seems to be working quite well if it's in the same file, but how much other files it's scanning, I don't know. I think the performance or the velocity boost you get is more or less if you use common solutions or common frameworks when suggesting you the right calls for it. I think it's better for that. It's not better for your own code to understand everything. This is my guess. Also, I'm with you. Sometimes I don't get anything back, and I'm expecting it should find something in my code that's perfect fit.
Yeah, I think there's also one of the slide point that I were mentioning that we need to understand the limitation of ChatGPT, right? And sometimes we encounter these things. I think one of the way to utilize it is like if we're really mastering on it. That's why in this day there's a prompt engineering, right? I think if we construct a really good prompt that we can give some rules to the input, let's say a very big chunks of code, and then you want to like give me within this number of lines or something like this. It might give you some suggestions, but it might not really perfect fit for you. That's why like humans still needed to intervene what the ChatGPT give to you. Basically, I think if we can having a mixed combinations of both, it can give some things, but we can't really 100% really trust on it. Some things.
I found also out it's basically combination between Copilot and OpenAI. sometimes if you want basically a suggestion where you can basically type something in, what do you think about this? When OpenAI is better, Copilot is basically giving you IDE ready code. And I think where you need to switch, and this is still happening. I'm not sure about the plugin at the moment on the Android Studio or an IDE. If that plugin as well has basically the prompt to code, because I think you need to use both. It depends on your situation. Running out of time. Okay, when we are going to close it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we still have another
Right.
session, I guess, right?
Yeah. Thank you very much. I mean, it's really insightful, informative, and I hope people here in the room getting something, and also people watching online as well. Thank you very much again, Andre and Michael.